Hello, it's Duncan. Last month, JetBrains released an early access preview of their new AI tool, Juni. Juni is an agent. This means we can give it a goal, it will devise a plan, and then execute tasks autonomously. It can even change its behaviour based on how things are going. In this first look at Juni, I'm going to tell it the rules of test-driven development and see how well it can follow the process. As in the last episode, I'll write the tests and ask Juni to write the implementation code. This one is really interesting.
Don't make me fight you for control machine. I have here a completely clean Kotlin project, newly generated with IntelliJ, and a fresh install of Juni. Reading the screen, it says, give me challenging tasks. For example, create Juni guidelines MD and project overview. So it looks like I can just click on that. Let's ask it to do that. Got this little working thing here. And you can see it's able to run commands like listing the directory. And it's made a plan. The plan is examine the project structure, create a Juni directory, create guidelines.md, and it's showing me what it's doing about that plan. So examine the project structure, that's our ls, I guess. Create the Juni directory if it doesn't exist, that's this mkdir. And here we're given the opportunity to run the command. I guess that's safe. Let's do that. There we go. The Juni directory has been successfully created. The next step involves creating a guidelines.md, and it has appeared and we can add it to Git. There it is. That's happened. We can see what it's done. Actually appears to be empty at that point. Guidelines.md has been created. Oh, and now it says it contains a comprehensive project overview. So let's have a look at it now. Oh, yes, there you are. And since we're done and we can roll back changes, but I think we're probably done with this bit. Let's go and have a look at that file. So here we are. It's the Cursor Kotlin project guidelines, giving away this is the same project I was using with Cursor. And it's had a look around, it's decided this is a Kotlin-based project using Gradle, determine the project build structure. I mean, that is right. It tells us about the build system, it tells us about development guidelines and so on. And I think I'm right in saying that if I add to this, so I could add something about how we write tests or our code style and that sort of thing, that Juni reads this to inform it about the project, as well as we read it to think what Juni thinks about the project. There are some bits down the bottom which it's just sort of guessing really. Create feature branches for new development. I don't believe in that. Submit pull requests. I don't believe in that. But we do want all tests to pass. I could say in here we practice trunk-based development with no pull requests. So let's commit that. I guess I've folded that away, have I? Don't know where the commit dialog has gone. Oh, that's a bit weird. Ah, hiding there. And don't seem to be able to type in that window. Something a bit weird there. Select, yes, select. Can I click in there? No. I can there. I can't there. I'll be back in a minute. Well, I had to restart IntelliJ. Don't quite know why. The AI Assistant plugin seemed to need updating. Let's select that one and ask AI Assistant to do a thing. Well, that's good. Let's commit that. And we'll also clear the decks for here with whatever on earth that is. Right then, we want to use Juni for TDD as if we mean it. And I'm going to start by selecting this brave mode. Now, I think that means we're going to take a risk and allow the AI to just execute terminal commands without us asking it. If you saw the Cursor AI agent mode video, we didn't find that setting there, but it turns out it does have one. And there I think it's YOLO for you only live once. Not sure whether YOLO or Brave Mode is a better name, but I'm just going to go for it. And now let's go ahead letting Juni know what we'd like to do. So I think I'm going to say from now on, create source files in the com one-eyed men package. Some of these sequences are going to be shortened in the edit. It's having a look around. It's reviewing the issue description. Don't know where that is. Checking the current project. Verify whether it is an existing com1 admin package and creating it if not. So I like this little plan, and you can see actually it's ticking off the things as it's doing them. That's nice, albeit a little bit slow. And it says it's updating the guidelines.md file for us. Let's have a look. It's updated the project structure. Well, I suppose that's helpful. But also an instruction here. Look, all source files must be created in the com1 admin package. That's helpful, I suppose. And for now, we're done. Good. So as a follow-up, I'm going to say we are going to do strict TDD. I am going to write tests, and I want you to run the tests when they change, and if they fail, tell me why, and then make them pass in the simplest way possible. Let's see what plan it comes up with. So its plan is to wait for the first test to be written, run the test and expect it to fail, analyze the failure, determine the minimum implementation, implement solution, and refactor if necessary. That's rather good. And here we appear to be waiting the first test to be written. Don't know why it's opening build.gradle, but we'll leave it alone. I'm going to cancel this step for now because I want it to create the test for me. No, I want to stop here by the look of things. So our follow-up task is, please create a new test class called myTests. It may be the keyboard shortcut would be quicker, but there we are. We have a new thing. Let's have a look at it. And indeed, we do have first test. Good. Right, I'm going to fill this in. Oh, it's preemptively editing the file. So it's actually added an assertion to it. Goodness me, it's going out of its way. It's run amok. Stop now. I don't want you to edit the tests unless I specifically request it. Oh, a note down here, it's actually run the test as well. There we go. Let's have a look. Something.kt. No, I don't want that. It seems to have created a class to call process and then check something. So I'm going to cancel adding that. Let's see what it's saying. It's still got a plan. It's still doing some stuff. Right. I'm going to stop it for now. And let's rein it back in. Let's say I don't want this something. Delete that. And I'm going to go to my tests and I'm going to say that isn't what I want. I want test. And the first test is going to be assert equals 1 is the result of calling my fun on a local date of 2022-1-1. And note that we've got AI completion over here. Right. I say I have written a test. Please run it. And if it fails, tell me why and then fix it. See how we do. So it's checking the current test file, run the test, and if it fails, implement. So it's done a build that fails. It's now adding source main that's in the right place, myfun.kt. That will do nicely, thank you. The function myfun has been implemented to take a local date parameter and return the string 1. And now it's run the tests and they have passed. It's now doing an ls for some reason. The test has passed. The development is on hold until the next test is provided to guide further implementation. Okay, and we can look up here and see what it actually did. Oh, it was empty at that point when it created it. But I suppose we can find it here. There we go. And put that down here so that we can see both at once and drop that there so we can see when it's running the tests. Okay, so that is indeed the minimum implementation. Let us add another test. And we're going to say that we want to return 2 on the second day. Oh, and the AI completed that. Good. Let's just wait. Oh, that got saved by the look of things. And it failed. So it ran the test and it failed. So things are happening down here without my input. It's changed the implementation here to be day of month to string. And that has made the test pass. If I look back up here, it says the new test. What? It's now adding more things. Stop adding things. Stop. Stop changing the tests. That is my job. Revert the last change. See what it thinks about that. Okay, so it reverted the last test change. And it's reverted that change. That's good. And now we just want everything to pass the test, which it does. I was trying to scroll up and see whether it had decided why the tests were failing and what change it was going to make. But I think for now, I'm just going to let it settle down. Okay, so it's just busy spinning over here, looking at whether things are changing, I think. Let's now give ourselves another test, and this one will be 3 on the 3rd, and that shouldn't require any changes to the implementation. I'm going to save that so we know we have, and see what it does. It's running the test, and it passes. The implementation effectively handled the new test scenario, so that's good, and it hasn't done anything. Splendid. I must say, as a video creator, that having something ticking over here just doing stuff in the background is going to play havoc with my continuity, because it just seems to be continually running the test waiting for something to happen. I suppose I could say stop, and I could say please only run the tests when I have changed something. See whether that stops it continually running down here. The individual has acknowledged the need to run tests. They are now waiting for the necessary updates to proceed. It does seem to be doing something, but with luck it won't run the tests. We will keep an eye. Okay, so that's our first test. And if you follow the other videos in this series, you'll know that spec is like FizzBuzz, but with a number of days from the beginning of the year. And I've been using 5 and 7 rather than 3 and 5 for the devisors. So that's test 1. Let's add ourselves another test. So we're going to say fun test 2. And in this case, we're going to say, if I took something like this, but I had the 5th, I would want, I think I'm going to make it, oh, it's already running the tests. That's going to confuse things. I'm just going to ask it to stop for now. Taking the transient changes I made to this buffer, that I think is just going to confuse things. At the risk of confusing things even more, I'm going to undo the edit that it's doing here, and while it's stopped, get ourselves on an even keel. So we want to say, I've used foo and baz rather than fizz and buzz, but I think I'm going to use banana this time instead, because I wonder whether foo and baz are too close to fizz and buzz. So at the moment we're saying, if it's 5 days, we want banana. And I'm going to say, I've made a change, please run the tests, and if fail, make them pass by changing the implementation of my fun. Something is happening, albeit slowly. Oh, so something's happened over here that it doesn't seem to be telling me about. Interesting. So that's saying when it's 1, 2, and 3, it's the day of the month string, else it's 3. That's just not going to work, but what is it doing now? I think I'm going to have to cancel this step. See what happens. And stop maybe. Right. I'm going to say revert the last change. Oh, something happened, but it took my change, not its change. That's rude. Okay, we seem to be at a bit of an impasse. I'm going to stop that for now. And we have the advantage that we just have an editor now, so I can undo that. And I think I can undo the change that it made in there. Yes, that's good. And I think what I'm going to do, given the difficulty we're having, is I'm going to start a new chat with the same preamble as at the top here. So let's go up here. And the key thing here is this one here. We're going to do strict TDD and so on. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to stop this whole process. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say, this is my task. We're going to be in brave mode, and let's start that and see how we do. Okay, so it's running the test, finds a failure. If the test failed, analyze failure reason, so it's made a plan. The build failed. It's opening the file myfun, and let's see what it comes up with as an implementation. Ah, there we are. If date day of month is 5, banana, else date day of month 2 string. I think that should pass, so I think you should be running the test by now. This is quite a long wait. Well, it's been a couple of minutes. I'm going to cancel that step, which as last time seems to do not much, but I can stop, I think. And I think we are in a position where the tests pass. Let me ask it, do the tests pass now? Okay, well, everything appears to have stopped working. I think I'm going to restart IntelliJ. And before I do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it into our Juni guidelines. And I'm going to use it as instructions to Juni. So let's say, hey Juni, we're going to do strict TDD. I'm going to write tests and I want you to run the tests when they change, and so on. So I'm hoping that when we restart IntelliJ, Juni will read that and we won't have to tell it again. Let's see, shall we? Okay, so we're back in the room and I'm going to say, let's do strict TDD and see whether it can work out what that means. It's coming up with a plan. Examine the current test, run the tests, wait for the new test. Oh, so that's good. We can see that it's running the tests and they pass. Good. says something about there were errors during the test run related to the build step, but I don't know what they were. Well, it now just appears to be looking at itest.kt, so that's good. Let's add another test here. We're going to say that if it was the 10th, we'd also like it to be banana. It's running the test because it's changed. A new test for banana for day 10 has been added, but it failed. As a result, one of the existing tests did not pass. And now it's saying if day of month is 5 or 10, banana else day of month. Splendid, and the tests pass. Fantastic, well done. I'm going to stop that so I can give it some more instructions. Please reformat my fun to be less wide. There we go. Close enough for government work, I suspect, and I hope it runs the tests just to check. And that's good. Okay, let's force its hand by adding banana as day 15 as well. And I'm saving things, but I suspect it's seeing my edits at sort of random times. But providing I'm quick, it's all good. A new test was added. Good. It's added in the 15. That's splendid, because that is in some ways the simplest thing that could work. And the tests have passed. Good. And now it's waiting for more input. So I'm going to stop and ask it to simplify my fun, please. So this chain of ors is not sustainable. Let's see whether it can see what it needs to do. Oh, and lo and behold, it does. Brilliant. The implementation has been simplified using modulo, and it's running the tests, and life is good. Oh, goodness me, I was half asleep then, and I've just seen that it has renamed the tests. That, well, it's surprisingly helpful. I mean, I was going to ask it to do it in the end anyway, so that's all good. I did tell it in the last session never to edit the tests, but I suppose I haven't in this session, so we will take that as a win, I think. We'll call it showing initiative. Right then, I think we'll go with Apple for days that are divisible by 7. I'm going to have to type in this by hand, really, because otherwise, if I copy and paste, I'm just going to get the previous implementation run again. So I'm just going to test 3 for now, and I'm going to copy one of these. I feel up against time pressure, but I'm going to say Apple is what happens if you ask on day 7. Save it, although it doesn't seem to make any difference, and let's see what happens. So now it's running the test has failed. A new test for day 7 has failed since it's expect Apple, which is not currently handled, indicating a need for code modification. And now it said day of month is 7 is Apple, which I think should get us passing, and does splendid. And now let's force the deduplication by saying, hey, 14. Oh, and in the meantime, it's changing the name of the test underneath me, but hey, that's okay. We can coexist. Oh, but then it deleted it. Don't make me fight you for control machine. Okay. Test is now sort of name is wrong, but it... Okay, what is it doing? It's taking away... So let's say stop. We're fighting. Let's not fight. There we go. I'm going to save that. This test should fail. I have edited the test. Please restart the plan. Running the test. It should see a failure. There we go. It says it needs to adjust things. It's changing the myfun. It's changing the test. Test file has been updated to remove the incorrect assertion. So that is a way of getting the test to pass, but it's a bit naughty. But I suppose given that it had named this test as it is, that's kind of legit. Let's just stop. Let's call this test 3. Let's add in the assertion for day 14, and that I think will force it to change the implementation. Let's go again. First thing it should do is run the tests, and it does. Now it's just got test 3, and now it shouldn't really edit that test. It should just change the implementation. I probably should have slapped its wrist about changing the tests. No. Okay, it is pretty convinced that it knows what's going on. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to say, you should not change the tests unless I specifically give you permission. And before I enter that, I'm going to go back here, call this test 3, put my assertion in for the 14th. And you know what? I'm going to put in the 21st as well, just to make it even more obvious that that is real. And in fact, while I'm here, I'm going to take this, put it into the guidelines here. You should not change the test unless I specifically give you permission. So we'll save that, close it, and go there. See what it has to say. Okay, so it's tried to revert the tests, but that's fine. It's running the tests. Test 3 still fails. There are now 2 assertions it has to do, and that has persuaded it to use mod 7 for Apple, which is good, and we pass. Great. And we're back to looking at my test file. Right then, we now want banana apple for multiples of 7 and 5. So I'm going to take this like that, and that will be fine, except that I need to make that test 4 before it sees that things have failed. And this is going to be, well, it should just pass there, so I'm going to let it do that thing, and then I think I'm going to stop while I have a little edit. Okay, let's stop. And we're going to say on the 35th day, which I can't be bothered to work out, so I'm going to say dot plus days 34, that this should be apple, banana. Now, as with the previous times we've run this exercise, it has so far been using day of month, which is the wrong thing. We want day of year. And this is the first time it finds out. So let's say, let's go and see how it does. Run the tests. See they fail. And interestingly, this is exactly the same solution as Cursor gave us, and still fails. So it's still using day of month, but now look, it's decided to try Println debugging. This will be fascinating. Debug logging was added to investigate. Let's see what it does next. And now we've got some craziness around day since start is date to epoch day minus local date of this thing plus something. I mean, that may pass, but doesn't. More debugging. So the AI is now doing Println debugging. Fascinating. But as with Cursor in the last episode, I think it's probably just going to get itself in a loop where it really can't work out what's going on. We'll give it one more try round before we put it out of its misery. Okay, I'm going to stop there, I think. Thinking this through, at this point we're not actually testing Juni, which is to say the agent functionality. We're testing whatever the LLM is behind it. And it's telling that the solution it tried here to get the test to pass was pretty much exactly the same as Cursor did last time. Let's see if we can just edit our way out of this a little bit. I'm going to undo in this file until we're back to the place that was closest, which is effectively here. And instead of giving it clues about the day of the month or the day of the year, I think I'm going to change this name of the test up here. So returns the day of year as a string for days of year divisible by 5. That might be enough to help, mightn't it? Let's see, shall we? Let's go again. So we expect it to run the tests. Oh, so disappointingly, it's still stuck on day of month. I'm going to stop there because we're back in that horrible loop. So undo that. Go back here and say the correct behavior is to use day of year, not day of month. Now thinking it through, this is a bit naughty because we're asking it to refactor on a failing test. So I think maybe I'm going to comment this test out before I restart it so that it can edit this file, get all these tests to pass, and then we can add that requirement back in. Let's have a go. See if it will take the hint. Okay, well, it really seems to like its string builder, but that does get those tests to pass with day of year. So that's good. Let's put this test back in. We can do something about string builder if we need to later. So I'm going to save that, let it see the new requirement. Oh, in fact, then this will probably pass because it is appending apple and banana. Oh, maybe not. Oh, hold on. Does that say 35? Oh, my bad. Right, let's stop. That should be 34. See how we're doing. We're going to undo this. Undo. Oh, what? I don't quite know what's going on here. That's test here. This one here, undo. Well, I think I should just be able to undo in that file. That's a bit weird. Right. Can I undo that change? I suppose I can by doing... no. Can I edit in here? No. Okay. I'm a little bit stuck here. I'm just going to get rid of... Oh, okay. We have some odd interaction here between our undo. Let's ask for the local history for that file, and we want to go to this one. So let's just take those changes across. In fact, I think I'm going to go back further. I'm going to go to the version here that was sort of sensible and didn't use a string builder. So that's like that. And then we're going to ask it to go forwards from there with the knowledge of the days of year as here, and the fact that we told it was days of year, and plus days 34 there. Let's ask it to. I've backed up a bit. Oh, and actually I'm going to do what I said, which is I'm going to comment this test out. See whether we can get it to use day of year. Please use day of year in my fun, not day of month. So we expect those tests to pass, don't we? Yes. Okay, it's fixated around string builder, but that should pass the test and does. And I think now that it is doing that, there's a chance that it will pass this because it will append the day of the year because it's a 7, and will append the banana because it's a 5. Feels plausible. Let's let it rip. Save that. Check that still says 34, and it does. So it should see a change, run the tests, and that is good. So this works because we're mutating the string builder. I don't hate that, but I don't love it either. Let's stop things and say, can you refactor my fun to not use a string builder, but be more functional, I think we'll say. We don't like the mutation of the string builder. Oh, well, there you go. Build string, I suppose that's hiding the mutation a little bit more. Take if it is not empty. I've got to say I think that's a little obscure, but ultimately here we're testing the LLM behind Juni, not Juni itself at this point. I'm going to stop now, I think, and just say, please give the tests better names. And what do we have? Returns apple, banana for days and matching both conditions. Apple for days of year divisible by 7, 5. That's pretty good. Thank you very much. And it's running the tests. That meets my expectations. And now I think I'm going to finally say, what would be a better name for my fun? In fact, rename my fun to be a better name. And it says the function of the Kotlin file has been successfully renamed to convert date to divisibility string. I mean, I suppose it's better than my fun. And I see that it has then gone and edited the tests. That's good. Running them, and life is sweet. So, what do we think of Juni? Well, it had a little bit of a moment in the middle where we had to restart everything, but it is pre-release software. The AI behind it is evidently as smart as the one behind Cursor, and its ability to integrate with the editor is equally good. It's the fact that it sits here watching the file system and doing things proactively that is different. And when I say the file system, I get the impression it's not actually looking at the file system so much as the buffer that I'm editing. That has pros and cons. There were times where I was editing the file and it was at the same time, and I did feel the need to make edits really quickly or pause it while I made them. So maybe waiting for me to save a file, or at least not been typing in it for 5 seconds or something, would be better. But the current behavior is predictable, and I suppose I just learnt to stop it when I didn't want it. So overall, a really promising start. And I must say that I do particularly like this guidelines file as a way of communicating in language between the AI and human and vice versa. Whether you use Cursor or Juni, if you don't already, then I urge you to try this Strict TDD. You may not want to do it all the time, but it's a really powerful tool to have in your toolbox, especially for little algorithmic problems like this. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're new here, then please consider subscribing for more of this sort of content. First-time viewer or with me from the start, your likes are very much appreciated and help other people find this content. There are lots more videos here on TDD, refactoring and AI. And in the good old days before AI, I wrote a book with Nat Price called Java to Kotlin, a Refactoring Guidebook. I think you might like it. Details are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching.